And 4 elephants.
Okay. Yeah. Hello, everybody. Today to our third PHP User Group meeting 23. We have a short agenda today. First, I use a few words about our PHP User Group. Then we got a host intro with a short introduction about Tag24. And the main talk today is James with his presentation about what is performance development. And round about 20 o'clock, 8 o'clock p.m., we have time to discussion and socializing. This is our organization team of the user group. Holger is here, Gerd is here, and me. Many thank you for our sponsors. If you need additional information about the user group, you can visit our website. You find all information about dates, new meetups, presentation slides, anybody. Also, you find the big blue button. If you have interest about speakers, if you want to presentate any theme, any topic, you can open a issue, a GitHub issue, and so we are a registered association. You can become a member of it with the opportunity to reduce prices for presentations, for conferences. If we make workshops, you are free for it, and we have books, videos, and so on as content for our members. These are the next events. In September, we make a conference here in Dresden, the PHP Developer Days, and yeah, in June we have the next PHP Meetup. Then, ja, thank you at Tag 24, und if we have a host introduction, then no.
Can I have the password for the internet?
Yes.
Is it? I was looking in the corner.
Okay, we have no host intro, so I'll give up to James.
Okay, thanks. Right. Let's check that the clicker thing is working. I'm so disorganized. Where did I put it? Where did I put it? Yeah! Hello everybody. Sorry, normally I'm very, very noisy and lively, and I'm just waking up because I didn't expect to, but I fell asleep in my hotel around the corner for an hour. I checked in and just went boom, like that. It took 11 hours to get here. I was up at 4 o'clock in the morning. And the reason is I missed my connecting flight. So there was one more flight to Dresden, and they said, we can put you on the next flight to Dresden, and it'll get at 10 p.m. And I said, no, I can't do that. So they said, you can get a train, as if it was disgusting. I thought, I'm from the UK, we have trains everywhere. And then I got on the train, and it was like, you have a restaurant car, there is food, and you can sit down, and there are seats, and there are not screaming children everywhere. And it was amazing. And yet, my director at my company still complains about how much he hates the trains in Germany because he's German. He says, they're rubbish. Do you know what? I got a train last week and it arrived 20 minutes late. And I'm like, in my country, trains disappear and they don't happen. So I don't know why I'm trying to just, remember what you've got. That's okay. The reason I had to get on the train in the first place is because of a thing called Brexit, and that's because my country is ruled by idiots. Hi, everyone. I have 4 of these. Who doesn't know what these are? Everyone knows what they are.
I would say these are elephants, right?
I mean, I suppose you could just say it was an elephant. But everyone knows the collectible elephants. Loads of people at Frankfurt, they didn't know what the elephants were. I've got 4 of them, and I was at Stoke-on-Trent in England, and I couldn't give any of them away because nobody brought their laptop. If you don't have your laptop, you might be able to also win one, depending on how generous I'm feeling. This is a bit of marketing, but I have a little bit of spiel. Normally I don't get this. Normally I have to I get on with the talk and I just buzz straight away. But how to get one? First of all, who has heard of Vonage? Yay! Nobody. That means I get to do. That means I do get to do this. I get to do this fun. Who's heard of Nexmo? Nobody. Oh, one person. Okay, go on then. Who's heard of Twilio? There we go. Right. There we go. Right. We're Twilio, but we're black and white, and they're red. Also, they're sacking everybody, and we're not. So So yeah, we do. For anyone that doesn't know what we do, it's comms APIs. So automated. Use an API to send text messages, WhatsApp messages, voice stuff. You can do voice API stuff, so you can build a whole voice center where it goes, please press 1 after the beep and things like that. To get the elephants, I maintain the open source library for PHP. So if you have a Symfony or Laravel or Slim or whatever app, get the client core, sign up to Vonage. So go to Vonage and type in sign up, and you can create an account. You'll get a master API key and secret. From the code, chuck them in there. If you show me that you sent an SMS, get your elephant. That's it. There is also, I'll just leave that in case anyone wants to take a photo of that or anything. So yeah, that's it. Alternatively, if not, and it sounds like a sort of a back door, but if not enough people send text messages, bearing in mind, I'm not putting pressure on you, but it's my livelihood, and I get sacked if I don't do it. That's not true. If I don't get enough, then if you show me that you signed up for the Vonage dashboard and you reclaim the coupon, which I'll show you in a minute, then, because you get a coupon for 10 euros credit, then yeah. Has anyone got a need to use comms APIs at work in agencies or products or anything like that? Maybe voice stuff. Okay, right. If you might have a need to, talk to me about it. I'm not going to go into the role of developer relations, but if you want like backdoor marketing without the bullshit, then you pretty much get this. And also you get like first line support. Right. I shall start. Hello everyone. Thank you very much for coming, and thank you very much for inviting me. I'm Jim Second. Yes, we'll see how this goes. I like to run around on stage a lot. I'm not, didn't go to university to do software development. I'm a trained actor. And my dissertation was in stand-up comedy. So naturally there's no jokes in this, of course, because I'm not funny. I studied comedians to see what makes them funny, not what makes me funny. Here's my stuff. Most of the job that I do relies on feedback, and getting feedback is impossible. Although Stefan and the people at Frankfurt PHP were really nice about me, and then I got like a tick from work. They said, yes, they said he's very good. You can also say that I'm awful, or that I'm too loud, or that you hate me, or other things like this. The way that I do talks and the way that I do speaking is very brash, British and noisy, so I'm probably going to either confuse a lot of you, or you'll be like, is he trying to be funny, or is he not? Originally for audiences around the world, I tried to tailor it, and then when it came to Germany, because I've done this is the second time I've done it in Germany, my boss who's German said, don't do that. He said, famously, they love British humour, and I said, do you mean that thing they show at Christmas with the black and white film with the man having dinner? But he said, keep it in. What is it called? Dinner for one? Yes. Dinner for one. Nobody in the UK knows what that is. It's amazing. It's like that dinner for one. And also, does everyone know that in Japan at Christmas it is tradition amongst families to go and eat KFC? And it's not the same thing as dinner for one, but the reason why is KFC realised Japan don't have Christian holidays, or even like particularly sort of Buddhism doesn't have particular holidays. There are no religious holidays circuit around that time of the year, so nobody does anything. Let's just pretend that for Christmas you go and have a KFC with your family. And they just said that that's what you do, and so everyone did it. And so from 1975 onwards, you go to KFC with your family. That's marketing. That's not what I'm here to talk about. I've gone completely off the rails. Let's see how long Elon Musk keeps that thing up. Otherwise, Mastodon. I'm on the official PHP Mastodon. I suppose it is sort of official. LinkedIn, GitHub. You can see all my lovely work for Vonage going in to the SDK, or you can see like my nightmare graveyard of unfinished side projects. That's me. Right. Here is the coupon code. So, if you want to muck around, there are like sandboxes for things. I'm not here to do like straight shilling and marketing, but if you do it, it's handy. But you get 10 euros with that. And obviously, if you actually sign up with that and then send a call, then you get an elephant. That's all the selling that I'll teach you now. Right, because I have serious things to discuss now. Serious things. Also for my bosses, put photos of me online. Can you take a good one? Because all of them are awful. The one in Stoke, I'm like this. And there was a professional photographer there for that, who did weddings. And I thought, all the other speakers are normal, and mine isn't normal. I like to do an outline before speaking. So there's got 3 things about. It's like a, hey, what am I going to tell you? What should you walk away from this? It is. That's the title of the talk, is what is performance-driven development? So if I'm going to introduce what it is, why should we be doing it? And finally, if that's the case, then how should we be doing it, Jim? Right. What is performance? What is performance-driven development? What am I doing? What am I doing here, Jim? What am I doing here? Question. What is performance-driven development, Jim? What is performance-driven? Are we live on a stream now? Yes. Hello world, what is performance? I don't know. Honestly, like I said before, it took 11 hours to get here. I don't know. I just thought it'd be a great idea, and they sent me around like everywhere around the EU. So do you know what? I've got no idea. This has been really good. Thank you for coming, everybody. I've been Jim Second. I'm going to take questions off the floor if anyone's got any. And I'm told in my earpiece by my producer. It's good, isn't it? Yeah. There we go. I've got a knack for name now. Did you say you've got questions from the chat room?
Not yet. There are also
You're supposed to say yes.
Yes.
Okay, you got questions for the chat room? Okay, cool. All right, whatever. Go on. I'll put them on. I'll put them on then. Go on then.
Okay. There we go.
All right. You seem troubled. What's on your mind, Jim? All right. Okay, we've got a feisty chat room. Apart from being tired, I am troubled. I am troubled, and you want to know why. And I'm going to tell you why. And now I'm going to get animated. I am troubled. I am bored of hearing these things. I'm bored of hearing these things. Put your hand. This is PHP Dresden. There are people that use PHP here. Hands up if you have heard that. God, some of you, about half of you. Okay, this is a lie. This. Why are you lying? You don't have to lie. But where's the proof, Jim? No one's proved that PHP can scale. There is the proof. Stop asking. Stop asking questions. We'll get on to things about being wrong, but if anyone doesn't know, I realized that I thought everyone knew this. So I did the, haha, here is the Slack logo, and then I'll walk away and everyone will laugh, and no one laughs. And that's because no one understands or realizes that the whole of backend Slack was originally written in PHP. Yes, now it's microservices and everything like that, and blah, blah, and it's Python and things like that, and lambdas. However, when I did post this joke and said, the most viral tweet I've ever put was, PHP is worth nothing apart from when it's worth $27 billion, which is when, who bought it? Was it Salesforce? I can't remember. Salesforce buy everything and then burn it. I put a joke and someone said, I think that it's a lot more than that, my friend. Actually, I think you'll find it's Python microservice. You're like, it's not funny though, is it? The point is it was written originally in PHP and it did scale. If I say PHP doesn't scale apart from when it's originally written as a concept MVP and then scaled out and then put into Python microservices, it's not funny, is it? It's fucking stupid. Right, so anyway, that's the joke. The joke is, if you say PHP doesn't scale, it's fine, you can be wrong because that's being wrong. You can also be wrong by always referencing this nonsense, which if anyone doesn't know what it is, here you go, get on your phones. It's an article called PHP, a fractal of bad design. And it is proof that if you want to moan about stuff, you can. I think there are valid criticisms. It's from 2012. There are valid criticisms about PHP. Hello, I have a strange constant that has got an Israeli name, if anyone knows what that is. A lot of the things that were originally moaned about are fixed, or this stuff I've never come across, like 11, 12 years of PHP development. Why are you moaning about this? It's moaning about, if you use the SPL, the list of arguments in this function is different from the list of arguments. No one cares. You've got PHP Storm. It'll do it for you. What are you moaning about? The trains are not on time. Well, okay, whatever. Someone said this to me on the internet. I mean, it's fine. I mean, like, there's a really famous clip of Keanu Reeves, and Keanu Reeves is too old for your crap, right? And he just said, some people just came up to me and started arguing stuff at me and saying, blah, 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 blah. And Keanu Reeves is like, I can't do this anymore. Do you know what? If you want to be wrong, it's fine. Just be wrong. you have my full permission to be wrong. 2 plus 2 is 5. Sure, great, whatever. Go knock yourself out. So when people say, yeah, well, to be honest, WordPress is the only thing that's actually relevant, because that's the only thing that really runs PHP, and you're like, well, fine, mate, you can be wrong. And then when it comes to PHP being old-fashioned, etc., go learn Rust, go learn Golang, another remix, and because JavaScript moves at 3 million miles an hour and sausage lang is the new thing. And now the future old timer is now the monkey thing with the halo, and the reason why I can post that even though that it's owned by someone is because that person bought the rights to that image, but then lost it in the blockchain, so they don't own it anymore. But so I can print it. But do they own it anymore? Who knows? Who knows? Oh, yes, well, Ethereum blockchain. Oh, I'm bored of this. And even on the train on the way here, there's somebody said that they rolled out something to Next, or what's the thing that Vercel do? Is it Next? The one that's based on React. Oh, it's a server-side Lambda thing, we do this thing, and it's server-side language in the client, and you're like, okay, right, well, we're doing that quite a long time ago, but you can be fine. You can go, like, history goes in cycles, and you can be wrong about this stuff. This is boring, man. I'm bored of this stuff. I'm going to have to say I'm getting less bored of it now, because things like Rails and Laravel are becoming popular again, so we need to get away from stuff like this as an industry in PHP. It doesn't matter what framework you use, I don't care. This is from about 2 months ago. And it's from Quora, and someone said, for your business startup as it scales up and it's got venture capital, don't pick Laravel over Django, because apparently your investors will not invest in you if you use a PHP framework instead of a Python one. It's fine. You can be wrong on the internet. You can be wrong. It's fine. But if you want to look like a moron, okay, fine, but it's just wrong. Venture capitalists and everyone, everything's about product. What is the user experience to the users? What product are you delivering? That's just wrong. And the thing is, we are getting away from this, and that's the reason why I find all this astonishing. We are doing things in PHP to change this. We've got the JIT compiler. PHP 8 is again on top of 7, like a massive boost. We've got native fibers being introduced now. Don't try and understand them natively because it's rocket science. We've got an open swarm, whichever one we can decide on, because we will decide on one eventually. Laravel Octane, React PHP, even a new asynchronous framework with X framework, and I haven't put it on there, sorry, Roadrunner. We're starting to get into native asynchronous development now. TDD now, I see it everywhere. I genuinely see even agencies, and agencies are crap because I worked at 4 of them, and they're mostly crap. TDD is now actually, I'm starting to see the agencies actually doing it. The take-up of it, and the fact that PHP Unit is Sebastian does such an awesome job, and now we have a new framework built on top of it of Pest if you want to change the syntax of it. I'm not going to say it's better because it's a very Laravel thing to say. It uses PHP Unit under the hood, but Pest syntax is great. Both of those things are just awesome tools. The last job that I worked at was a Laravel partner, and they used PHP Stan under the hood as part of the pipeline whenever they were doing any pull requests or anything. The power that Andre has done with PHP Stan, the work he does, and with similar comparisons with SAM PHP, if you've never checked out either of these tools, just check them out. It's nuts. It's almost like one of my team is, so we have like a language specialist per language on our team, right? So I'm the PHP advocate, and then we have a Python one, and then we have a .NET one. I showed this to the .NET one, and he was like, what PHP Stan can do is like semi-compiled what you're doing by stopping it from doing this, which is for a dynamic language, an interpreted language, is pretty amazing. The Laravel ecosystems are still growing. I don't like that they're growing apart. I don't like that they're obsessed with Lamborghinis, but they are. the fact that they're growing is a testament to PHP, and obviously we can be a bit of the Wild West sometimes, right? The fact that the individual kind of like you've still got and communities within Drupal for instance are still strong. We're in Central Europe at the moment, so obviously I'm going to cite Symfony a bit more because obviously Sensio Labs are based in Paris, but honestly, the work that they're doing to actually make PHP relevant and not make it disappear is amazing. I heard a joke about Perl the other day. I'm not going to recite it. Similarly, Sleevo Mats, PHP CS, the linting power. I mean, yeah, okay, you get that with like ESLint in JavaScript or something like that. And combining all of this with, I mean, that's not PHP relevant, right? But with actions, runners, Circle CI, Circle CI and GitLab CI, I'm staying modern. I'm not going to mention Travis or Jenkins. I've worked with both. Don't do that. But the power that you get mixed with all of this makes for a developer experience and language and power to deliver applications that's the same as any other language. There are advantages and disadvantages. This is modern, though. There's nothing old hat about this. However, everyone's going, what are you thinking, Jim? Where are you going with this? It's a bit like security. It's a bit like security, isn't it? It's ship the app. Security. Pay us the money. Yes, we'll do a security audit later. Performance, to me, comes into that. It really does. I just see it as the last rung of shipping software where people don't think about it. So, what do you think about that? Okay, well, this sounds cooked up. Judge your chat room tonight. Making it up, Jim. I'm giving you hypothetical stuff that anybody could say. So now it is time for real stuff. Yes, audience. Yes, chat room. Yes, user 9433. I'm trying to stop my brain from doing really rude jokes. Yes, I can give you a real example. Come on then. Here we have the thing. I worked at a place that did the thing. This is the thing that my place did. It was an agency. And this thing here is like an old school from about 2005 PHP CRM. Like the days of PHP BB and stuff like that. Like it's kind of like got nuts and bolts sort of put on and it sort of works. But my agency goes, we do the thing, we do that. If we have a client, they go, build us the really big software. And we go, yes, we can because we can do the thing. And the thing goes, people will need to do custom software. So we need to extend off this somehow to make it customizable. So how do we do that? We put the hooks up. We put the hooks, hook everywhere. Hook everywhere. You can hook into this. You can hook into login. You can hook into renderer. You can hook into at any point at runtime. Except because it's an old school thing, it's not got like a command. It's not got a kernel or a command runner like Symfony or Laravel or Slim. It doesn't have the inversion of control. It just has the WordPress thing, which is like, hey, I'm sort of done doing this thing, but which hook is it? It's this hook. I will do this. But this plugin is doing this hook. Well, then I will put it on top of that hook. And then like developers are like, what? How do I make my thing work? Well, you need to put this plugin before this one. Z-index 9999999. That was the hooks, right? And it was completely dysfunctional. And so then the rest of the app, they bolted this on. Right, so we've got pretty standard, MySQL's up there, and then they put Solr on for indexing, but then the way that the back end of that was configured was it treated Solr like the primary source of truth for the data and not MySQL. So every time a record got updated, you had to go like, Push through Solar yet? Don't know. Do we need to do a manual command to actually re-index it in Solar? And then for reasons, I don't know, for some reasons upstairs in some corporate HQ in, I want to say France somewhere, I can't remember where their headquarters is, they chose that. Trying to extend off UI, has anyone heard of UI? No one's heard of UI. You are blessed. It's a JavaScript framework. It's a JavaScript thing created by Yahoo, and it's the worst thing you've ever had to work with. It's like scaled jQuery. It's like a nightmare. You can't do anything with it. And so trying to create custom bespoke software in this toilet of nonsense is not possible at all. So they're like, so the engineers at the company are like, we need to solve this problem. This is a problem. What do we do? Because people want to ship custom software to major international clients. How do we do this? And they go, we cannot undo all of this mess. We cannot undo it. So we will get the crowbar. We will get the crowbar and then fix it by, there we go. We'll underpin all of it with Symfony now. That will handle the events. And then it's a modern framework and we've just gone into it and that will fix it. This isn't very performant, all of this. It's not great, is it? But then what happens is that you realize that what Symfony has tried to do when they try to hook it in is it's not hooked in completely correctly. So you have the Symfony event system working like it should, but the underpinning hooks are still doing the things and sometimes they are not caught. So we have two event systems now. We have trying to intercept whatever is happening under the hood with raw PHP, and then Symfony trying with its event system to try and interpret stuff. And they're like, and the company's like, here you go, ship the software. And my company, who are an agency, with our clients being a major international news company, which are owned by a company that most of you will have heard of, are like, we cannot ship this. This is ridiculous. We need to fix it ourselves. How are we going to fix it ourselves? How should we fix it ourselves? If you can't fix it, then we shall go and get the crowbar. We shall drag the crowbar. There we go. That's shipped to production, done. The solution was, if anyone doesn't know what Fastly is, which uses Varnish under the hood, cache everything. Just cache the whole app and then put that out. This talk is called What is Performance-Driven Development? I'll tell you what performance-driven development isn't. It's not fucking that, is it? That's absolute nonsense. I'm really tired. I don't normally swear in my talks, sorry. This is just nonsense, right? So we need to, obviously, that's a real-world example. We need to get away from that. Show me some bad code then, fancy pal. All right. I showed you the big picture. Let us look at the code. And this is not the same thing, because otherwise people will sue me. This is something different. My last job was for a Laravel partner, and we did a lot of consultancy. So it is now time for you to see the real world of what you think doesn't exist, but does exist, because I've seen it. I see bad Laravel code. I've never thought of the sixth sense like that. Where am I going with this? This is the first thing I saw when someone came to us and said, please, can you help us? And I looked at this and said, yes, you do need our help. Immediately. If no one knows what this does, it says, we are going to need to see the users, but we don't have database access. So we're going to do a route in the app that has debug users. No guarding. You don't need login. And you will get all the users, and then you will spit them out because you are debugging. Complete with, obviously, with personal information. And I'm going to put a little bit of thought into this. I hate this code here as much as I hate I think Jar Jar Binks, and I really don't like Jar Jar Binks. Really don't like Jar Jar Binks. Just look at him. Jar Jar Binks, just rubbish. Just rubbish. What was George Lucas thinking? So anyway, that's before we got started. So let us get onto the performance side of things. Here we go. I want to get about, on average, about 15 users that comply with some conditions in a database query, and then I will display them on my dashboard. So I will do it like this, which means that I'm masochists. Dashboard data is there. Oh no. Oh, okay, right. So we're starting off with getting all of the contacts out of the 2.5 million contacts in the database because we want 12 of them. All of them. And then we will loop through them in a for each loop. And then we're going to get the settings out because we're going to talk about this can phone or can email. So we get the settings out of it whilst we're looping through. And then we're going to, so if we pull the settings out, presumably to query it, then we're going to loop through all of the settings. There were probably about 25 different unique settings that you could apply in that relationship. And we're going to loop through them as well. And then, and as anyone might have spotted, and then this happens. I'm going to get the setting out whilst I'm going through my n+1 several million rows to get 15 records. I'm going to get the contact out. That's an SQL call. So we're going to go back to there again and then back again. But I need the settings. So I'm going to make that call with the setting joined to it in a left join. And then I'm going to decide my logic of what to do with it. And I hate this code as much as Jar Jar Binks, and I really hate Jar Jar Binks. Oh, I miss a rubbish character. Awful. Oh, God. What is this nonsense? Oh. And like I said before, the thing is, for anyone that's in like mid-level or experienced, right, you think that this doesn't exist in the wild, and it does. This exists. And this is only one example that I've seen of it. People code like this. I'm going to be a bit naughty and say offshore, when you send it out to somewhere, hey, we have created an app for you in 3 months. What does it look like? Don't ask what it looks like. Does it work? It sort of works. Oh no, I've got 7 users and it doesn't work anymore. This is real. And we have to fight this. Oh, there we go. Thank you, chat room. That's nice. Inspire me, Jim. Inspire me, Jim. Okay, right. I spoke to people because this is not normal, is it? Not normal at all. So I went to Sensio Labs and I spoke to Platform SH and I spoke to Blackfire, spoke to Thomas. And this was his number one thing when talking to Blackfire. They said, it's always the same thing. It's always people try to get really, really clever about sort of after the request response life cycle has happened with tooling, and they don't consider just the PHP the PHP code under the hood. You can do the fanciest Lambda serverless bref stuff if you want to, but if this doesn't happen if you've not thought about what's happening under the hood, then that's the thing they see the most. Really, the second thing I got was from Jack. From Jack Ellis at Fathom Analytics. It's a platform that's based on Laravel, and their engineering blog is really fascinating. I definitely, when it comes to performance scaling, especially that PHP doesn't scale, they tell stories about what scales and what doesn't and how they've done it. And the number one thing is you can set up your tiny little scale up to be like Uber, where it's suddenly like, you know, a challenger bank and it has all of the microservices everywhere. But if you set it up where there's a single bottleneck with a database, it doesn't matter what infrastructure you put in place. Number one, database is a problem. It's getting too clever about things whilst not thinking about the fundamentals. And I love the fact that there's a debate happening right now about the fact that monoliths are coming back, and all the people that are doing microservices like, oh, we fixed all of our problems now, and we fixed them by taking all the lambdas out and putting it on a single VM and running it. Do you mean like, yeah, I know what you're trying to say, but you don't want to admit it, do you? It means just having a monolith. Or distributed monolith, still good. So these are like important things, and I don't know, everyone thinks. What's the next question? This isn't really a question, it's more of a statement, and oh no, I only take questions, sorry. Ignore that. Note to self, nobody gets that joke ever. We'll stop doing it. How do we change this? If anyone, the previous joke is because I did it, my first ever talk was at PHP London, and it was about gatekeeping and tool shaming, and it created an argument in the audience because my first question wasn't a question, it was more of a statement, and then they brought up politics. And then they started fighting, first of all verbally, and then physically in front of me, and I just watched while the organisers went, this has never happened before. I'll take questions, no statements. How do we change this? This nonsense needs to be changed, but there's two ways of doing this when it comes to performance, right? So, tooling is obviously important. We can't do this. We can't do this without tooling, as shown by all of the massive stack of stuff with the pipelines and things like that. The natural thing is you could think, well, you know, application performance, right? So therefore, one of them. But that doesn't work. That's performance in terms of the front end and then logging, right? You've got to do a bit of detective work to try and work out what it is. But you remember I said that this was after the fact, getting too clever with tooling and not thinking about the raw code that's going into it. So therefore, this doesn't work. If you try and bolt on Datadog and say, why is my enterprise application not working as fast as it should? I mean, it'll give you some indicators, but it won't tell you exactly where things are going wrong. So you've got two paths to do this. You can take the easy path. A little secret for everybody. This was not supposed to be this kind of talk. This was supposed to be, why is Blackfire great? And then I tried Blackfire and it was really complicated. So I'll get on to why it's not one of those talks, but the easiest path to this is cheating. And I call it cheating because you can use one of these two things. You can use Tideways or you can use Blackfire. Has anyone heard of either of these? Okay, a couple. Blackfire, the reason why it was originally a Blackfire talk is because I was used to Blackfire from the Symphony, like earlier Symphony days where Fabien Potentier was putting out his 100 Days of Blackfire or something like that. I can't remember the book series. And I read a couple of them. It was brilliant, but at that stage it was early Sensio Labs thing. So it was kind of aimed at the start, like, you know, as part of the whole stack. And then I picked it up like about 4 months ago, and now it is not that. Now it's a massive enterprise product that now does Blackfire for Golang and Python and Node. So, and Tideways, like, it's similar kind of thing, right? But the reason these I'm not going to slate these because the reason why you use these, right? Cloud-based SaaS, the CI checks and thresholds that you put in, this is a very, very important thing about performance-driven development, is you need to set in a way, it's like having your sort of agile, in your sort of agile development, when it comes to acceptance of when you can ship a ticket you need to have it, somebody needs to be in charge of what that threshold is and what is acceptable for something to be merged. So you need to know your thresholds, but Blackfire and Tideways have cloud-based CI checks as part of it, and then they have mad recommendation engines. And it's because they know PHP inside out, and they really do, because of the nature of both of those companies. So they're amazing tools for sorting out your performance. But, as all senior developers like to say, let us look at the other side, because it depends. These are now both very, very focused on enterprise. But the number one thing that you want to see of why am I not using either of those tools, and I've polled loads of people about this, is that, bang, dollar bill, yo, it's expensive. It's expensive. Do you think you get that amazing PHP recommendation engine for free? No, you don't. It costs lots of money. So when it comes to, I'll reference this later, but it's the right tools for the right job. And if you're coming into the scale-up or a startup, or you're in a product team that's starting a new product from scratch, greenfield, and you choose something like Slim or Symphony or Cake or Laravel or whatever, that isn't going to be top. You're not going to start with that to make stuff performant when you start off, right? So we have to take the hard path. Now I go into gym lecture mode. This is my thing. If you want to take away anything, this is the thing that I want to teach you, because it comes from experience. This path is called the mindset. And the reason why the mindset focuses around AWS Infinidash, which is a hopeless joke that nobody will get. Probably, does anyone get that joke? Nobody, right. I'll explain it actually, because originally when I started, everyone was like, I get it. Someone in my field said, I think the next move that AWS are going to do is invent a product that no one's heard of, and it's going to sound really futuristic. Something like Infinidash, and recruiters will start asking for it on CVs. So he did. And he said, has anyone heard of AWS Infinidash? It's amazing. And then it started happening. But that's the joke. But the mindset I'm talking about is the DevOps mindset, is that what I see in agencies and some products, because I worked at a startup for quite a while using Silverstripe and Symphony, which was in a music industry company, is the mindset of that DevOps. It's philosophical, it's continuous improvement, but thinking about what you're doing about shipping quality code. And I have not seen that. I've not seen that in PHP. And this should be commonplace, especially with the pipelines looking like the way a lot of people ship software. Unless you look at the consultancy I did where I tried to save someone's company about 3 weeks ago, where they still FTP'd up the files. Not SFTP, just FTP. This requires more effort, but this requires management. So I'm talking to any of you that are management leads, engineering leads, or you're mid to senior. But if you are junior and starting out, then you get to see I'm trying to point out how things should be working. First of all, with shipping stuff, expectations from stakeholders and the technical, a feature of this, I want you to code this menu item and therefore it has this relationships and it pulls in this data. There should be an expectation from the stakeholders and from the technical perspective of how long that should take. Sometimes I've worked loads with Jira tickets that are just make the thing work. And I'm like, I can make the thing work. It'll be crap, but you can make the thing. This is not quality software at all. You have to be more detailed, and detail takes time. And agencies hate time, but you have to spend it in order to ship quality software. That is number one. For any juniors coming into your team, you'll discover that juniors are a passion of mine, because I was once one, and now I'm in a field where I mentor them, and I try and mentor them out of bad habits. I started out as a business analyst, not business analyst, that's nonsense, isn't it? Business intelligence. I had to do like one-shot SQL queries on an Oracle database that was massively over-provisioned. I learnt SQL from scratch when I was about 21, like just, that was the start of my career. So I know what's happening under the hood. I know about table scans. I know about inner joins. I know about left joins. Juniors coming into teams are just handed Doctrine or handed Eloquent and they won't know about it and they will make mistakes. I guarantee you they will make mistakes. That's where you see stuff like, well, why should I bother with this when I can for each it? No, don't do that. ORM optimization is the #1 performance bottleneck in 5 jobs that I've seen, that I've been at, where code has been terrible. You need to teach your juniors how it works under the hood and what an ORM is doing. And once you've done that, then you can join in the argument of whether you should have an ORM or not, because that's a hot topic. Throw a cache at it. You saw it before. Throw a cache at it. Throw a cache at it. Cache this, cache that. It's not always the answer. Please be careful about cache layers. I start off with the bare minimum of the caching with sessions, and then really slowly and think about your process about how you're going to introduce a new cache layer, because as you saw with Solar, that Solar plus MySQL thing, there was a caching layer in the middle of that, which is why Solar didn't update. And that's because they just went, throw the caches at it, throw it, it'll make it faster. Not if you've not thought about it from an architecture point of view. Third-party API calls. I worked at a Shopify agency, and the Shopify agency extended off the Shopify API with Laravel, and therefore there were third-party API calls coming from and to Shopify, and then to other stuff, including subscription models and things like that. PHP synchronous. They just left it synchronous. Don't do that ever. When it comes to your when it comes to your software being reliant on third-party stuff, make it asynchronous. Consider asynchronous development as a way of doing it. Like, for instance, the new Verify API that we've put out of Vonage, which is two-factor authentication, right? The way it used to work is, please verify me. Here is an email. Here is a phone number. And then you wait. Wait for it. Ah, yes, and now you shall log in. Verify v2, callbacks, and webhooks. That's how it all works, all asynchronously. If you're not thinking about third party, if you try and just bolt, agencies love to do this because usually a CEO, like a CMO or CEO, CTO, or whatever, one of those ones has promised someone the earth. You can have it in 3 days. True story at that company. They promised a Chinese translated and Chinese hosted Shopify site in a week, and did not consult the CTO about that or the backend team. And we did not ship it in a week because that's ridiculous. Considering the architecture, first and foremost, don't just ship it as fast as possible. Think about the architecture. This seems like common sense, right? But I don't know. It seems like common sense to me. So if we can't use things like Tideways, and we can't use Blackfire because of cost is prohibitive, and we're going into the mindset, what do we use? Yes, we can use things. Hooray! We can use things like XHProf by Tideways. So Tideways took on XHProf. Has anyone heard of this tool? Couple of people, okay. This was developed by Facebook as a specific profiler for Facebook's needs that Xdebug Profiler didn't at the time fulfill. And we'll get onto that. I got this from Lorna Mitchell's blog. If anyone's heard of Lorna Mitchell, it's sort of, her blog is basically I'm trailing behind her life, picking up things that she did. Hopefully she doesn't mind me saying that. Like I found with Xdebug profiling, you can get a Docker container out of XHProf, and it's amazing. If you just build this into your workflow, okay, it's not, for juniors, that's not easy, but look at the power of runtime and trying to, we need as PHP devs to get more au fait with with how the stack is working. And similarly, the Xdebug profiler, which, yes, okay, I know it looks like this, and this is the cache grind file, which the profiler outputs, and then this is kcache grind in a KDE instance of Linux. I know it looks like something out of Jurassic Park, but if you start, I started doing this. I started actually learning about the runtime properly. Once you start digging into what's happening, understanding this suddenly makes you, and if you instill this in your juniors, superhuman. Like, you're just like, this is not enough people are doing this, and to be able to do this means that you are like super good at shipping software. Okay, I got it out. But this is a bit more complex, right? This bit blows my mind because I've dealt with about 3 or 4 different companies that were clients that didn't do this, and my last one, which is called Jump24, which is a Laravel partner, they did this as part of the local environment. And then when you ship to production, it would switch off flags and things like that. I don't get this. Symfony and Laravel come with debug bars. Is that news to anyone? I shouldn't have phrased it. What I want to know is does anyone not know that? But otherwise, that's putting people on the spot. This is the Symfony one. You can just switch it on. You just say debug bar 1 or whatever in a config file, right? There it is. It's got a performance Gantt chart. It's got all of the caching layers from your Redis instances or Varnish or something like that. It's happening on the front. Then you've got doctrine. I know it's blanked out there. You can't really see it. But then doctrine for the ORM. And Laravel has the same. There it is. Comes out the box. How many queries are executed? How much memory? And the time. They come out the box, but what I don't see is I don't see people either in product or agencies making their local development environments for developer teams have these outside of the box as a tool that they need to pay attention to whilst they are pushing PRs. That I don't get at all. This should be standard. So, what's the next question? Laravel or Symfony, I am the PHP advocate at Vonage, so I'm effectively a diplomat, so I'm not answering that. Why should we be doing PDD? Why should we be doing it? Because if it wasn't apparent before, this is the best statistic I could come out with, right? Which is nuts, but that is the best stat, and it comes from March 2016, and that's 53%. Of people will drop out after 3 seconds. Now, I think I polled my team about 1.5 seconds. If you ship rubbish code, people will stop using it. That's common sense. It's not like, oh, Jim has come up with really insightful stuff. It's just common sense. But what you might have got from the way I was pointing out about how the way teams work is, if you understand how your code works from an extreme PHP runtime, under the hood technical level, if you understand how it works from those tools, it makes you a super powerful developer, but not a rockstar developer. Don't be one of those are idiots. But leveling up your juniors and instilling that knowledge into a team, if you're an engineering manager or you're responsible for people, makes your team a superhuman team. And I've seen that happen because that was the last team that I was on. This should be normal. Everyone should be thinking about performance as a first-class consideration. I could do the same talk about security and just phrase it the same way, really. So, our real-world example. Again, a lot of you might be like a bit slightly bored of thinking, yeah, but Jim's showing me rubbish code, right? Sorry, it's Jim and James. Sorry if anyone's confused. One government name, one nickname. What does our code look like now? You think that real-world example is stupid? This is all we did for this dashboard, and it's nuts, right? So there wasn't a team. There was me and one other person, right? This is the debug bar running in the Docker environment, which there was no local environment, so we had to start wiring one together using Docker. And there are I've obscured it. Obviously, the app didn't look like this, obviously, so I've just obscured it and used the default Laravel one. Right. I want, there's about 3 more here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I want 12 users. I want 12 users. And in order to get the 12 users on the code that you have supplied me, I will execute 286 queries. And it will take 4 megabytes, and it will take 11.92 seconds to load, and that was in production, and there were users for a critical application. And I can't even tell you the industry that it was involved with. Okay, well, if I had a junior, or I had a couple of us looking at that team, then we shall fix this, because this is nonsense. Let us fix it. Instead, the dashboard data array will now be the contacts. We're not going to get 2.5 million contacts because that is stupid. We're going to get with the settings relation, and then we're going to introduce a where query. Of course we're going to do that. Get the settings, and now we introduce that can phone, and we have no pagination. 2.5 million contacts. 2.5 million contacts, no pagination. No pagination in the whole app. No, that was the users, not the events. No pagination in the events. Paginate 10 to array, okay. This seems like common sense. I'm not saying, you've all come here thinking, Jim's going to introduce fancy, and I'm introducing my new open source package, the Jim Performance package, and it will make you all superhuman. No, sorry, it's really boring. It's common sense of introducing that bar to your teams so that they never code like you saw before, and they code like that. Let's have a look at the result. There we go. In order to get the 12 people, it will now take 4 queries, 2 megabytes, and 324 milliseconds. And that, everybody, is performance-driven development. It's not a secret. We should all be doing it. There we go. That's it. Congratulations. You're a winner. Does anyone recognize this picture? No one recognizes this picture. I'm just, oh, dear me. Tough crowd. Whew, tough crowd. And the lights are going on. They're like, come on, Jim, go home. Okay. If anyone, okay, so this is none of you will go and like tag Jim Second on Twitter or Mastodon and say, hey, Jim did a fun talk and it was actually quite interesting. If you're going to take something interesting, your winner, this is a picture from a Russian video game from 2003 called Big Rigs Over the Road Racing. I think it was about $20 in the US when it came out, uncompleted. Go watch YouTube videos of it. It's amazing. And by amazing, I like really bad things. You can reverse, and there's no physics. So you can reverse, and you start going reversing in a perfect circle, and then you do it until you're going at 1 billion miles an hour, and then you can stop on the brake. It's great. Can you wrap this up? All of you are bored. Of course. I'm bored of your... It's May the 4th, isn't it? I grow bored of your anger. You want this PHP performance. What is PDD? Let's just wrap this up with what I suggested. Right, what is PDD? It is a mindset of performance as a first-class consideration. Performance and security, the two things that are forgotten in the ether of things that no one cares about. It's introducing it as part of your workflow. That's all it is. And also, I mentioned Tideways, I mentioned Blackfire. If you're a contractor, you're not going to come into a massive enterprise company and product and say, I'm going to introduce performance-driven development to this team of 50 people that You're not going to do that. You're a contractor. You need to come in and do it fast. And they have money. Use Tideways or use Blackfire. Use the right tool for you. Why aren't you doing it? I love this. This is my favorite. Why are you not doing performance-driven development, Liam? DevOps problem now. A couple of people like, we have written the crap code. like, this is rubbish. And they're like, and the ops team's like, this is awful. Why isn't it working? Oh, fix it. I want to say that there's some responsibility. Performance-driven development like this means that the development team can take responsibility a bit. We can't do that though. that's too mean. We can't just kick it out. But also, I don't want developer teams to turn into DevSecOpsCon, blah, 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 blah. There's like, we're adding like words on. Like, my role is paid the same as it used to be, but now it has this many words on it. It's complicated. Like, setting up the big tools, I didn't. I do this off camera. I spoke to Thomas to try and set up Blackfire, and we struggled together to set it up. It's complicated to set up both of those tools because they need agents running, and then they need like an exchange for the logs and things that are coming through. Because really, it drills down into PHP at its core at the runtime, right? So if you stick it into the cloud, it then becomes more difficult, and so it's complicated to set up. And I already said that before, the cost is prohibitive. Backups, it's not a problem until a problem, is it? Performance is not a problem until you ship the thing and then suddenly there are like 5,000 sessions simultaneously happening at once on your app, all of the time, and now it's a problem. It's not a problem until it's a problem. And there's one more reason why you're probably not doing performance-driven development. And I'll tell you the last one because it's obviously the best. Doing this requires code, and it requires typing with fingers, with human fingers at the keyboard. And you might not be able to do it because it's Jar Jar Binks. And I really hate Jar Jar Binks. And I think the Jar Jar Binks thing, out of all of the crowds, has bemused you the most out of everyone. Or everyone's just frightened when I get angry about Jar Jar Binks. Right, that is it. I've finished ranting. Thank you for listening to me rant with my big eyes, like bag eyes, and like slightly tired, and yeah. Any actual questions from the floor?
Yes, I would have a question or like a challenge, and I would be interested how you would
challenge?
tackle it. Yes. So you talked about not making asynchronous calls. So you have the challenge, like some payment providers, they really want their requests to be synchronous, and then you want in your testing pipeline to test the performance of the purchase process, for example. But their sandboxes are freaking slow. Like some payment providers, it takes 5 seconds for one request. So sometimes it's like 15 seconds. So for me, the question is like, I really want to have metrics in my pipeline to understand that maybe if I change something, it gets very slow. But I can't get rid of that freaking synchronous call. So how would you tackle that?
It's not going to be the answer you want at all. But what we're doing at Vonage now, because we have to test our SDKs, which effectively are they're not wrappers for the REST API particularly, because it's trying to write the code that interacts with the REST with the REST API in a bit more of a clever way, depending on what language it is. So the Python one does it in the Pythonic way, and the PHP one does it in. So naturally, that's a whole SDK that just relies on the Vonage SDK, on the Vonage API, right? So when it comes to wiring things together, one of my previous talk was on VCR. Now that's an interesting one. VCR enables you with any testing framework. So like if it's PEST or it's PHP unit, you run the tests, but you do the calls, the live calls to the synchronous calls, and it will record them. And it records them as a massive YAML. And with VCR, you have complete control over whether you're going to make it live, where you're going to do it live, or you're going to record it and then eject a YAML cassette, or you put it into playback mode. And for third-party stuff, that was always the best, because once it's recorded it, you've recorded what it's like semi-live, and then you can go into the request and then go, right, I'm going to adjust it to just make it faster. You can't represent production, can you? So your only option is to say, this is probably going to be fairly fast, but I have to just roughly replicate this as like, you know, about 50 milliseconds for this call or 100 milliseconds. There's no way of actually replicating live stuff because you can't. But it shorts out that call. It shorts out the call to their UAT or their test server or whatever. But what you get is a real response, and it's recorded the whole life cycle. So then you edit it. When they change the API, because heaven forbid they'll do that, which they'll do it usually without telling anybody, then you can hit record again. But if you can put an engine on top of that actually has variables that just keep that record the new keys that come back in an array, or they've changed the file structure. But the timings you can keep that constant. So it's the best you've got. You can never do it live, but it's better than waiting, like having a unit test suite that's an integration test, and it takes like 5 seconds.
Especially because we defined, of course, timeouts. Sometimes it's just read the pipeline, and you have to understand, oh, okay, it's again, Papal's just slow.
No, yeah. But your integration, you want to test your timeouts to make sure that your software is doing, like your stuff is doing what it should do. So therefore you can mimic it of like, well, actually, we'll take the same request and copy it, and then we'll actually say that in Guzzle, it takes X amount, therefore what's our wrapper going to do? So you've got quite a lot of options to actually take the testing from them to you, which is what you want to do, really. I didn't think I would suddenly get onto VCR, but I did. That doesn't come with the that's not related to the performance bit, I don't think, of the code part of it. But yeah, it was a massive problem in Shopify that we had all the time. When Shopify goes down, there's no tests. That company never did any tests anyway, so and I don't work there anymore.
Thank you for the great talk. Very enlightening.
Sorry, the energy is normal. I've spared you. The energy is worse than that usually. It's because I'm a bit tired.
I
really do.
I have a question. You mentioned that you also add the performance indicators to your pipelines. Like, how do you integrate the mentioned tools like XHprof or Xdebug, cache grind output? Do you integrate it into your pipelines, or do you just tell your developers do it locally? Because my bigger question is, usually you are not able to reproduce live environment performance on your desktop machine. So how do you check for performance or even set thresholds on performance when you are not able to test it on the real environment? Yeah,
it's a good question, and the answer is you can't. But the reason why you can't is because the X profiler, when it's switched on, I've seen very clever environments with how to switch on bits of Xdebug, of when you want the flags, of when you want the step debugger enabled, when you want the profiler enabled. But XHprof, the thing is, they're local tools. They have to be, unless the reason why I have to say those have to stay local and it has to be instilled in your team. The pipeline is a different problem to tackle, because the pipeline problem has been solved by Tideways and Blackfire, and they've integrated that level of tooling into it. And the reason it's expensive is because it's hard to do. So you can either reinvent the wheel, not invented here syndrome of, why don't we do that when it's there? And that costs money. Well, let's try and do it ourselves. Maybe it would work. That's the reason why it's it's not impossible to do it. It's just that getting that production, like getting production environments with local environments tooling in a similar kind of way it's almost impossible. It's not impossible. Nothing's impossible, but time and resources is too hard.
Okay, thanks. Yes, we are. We can relate to not invented here because it's a German thing. Other question to throw one more expensive tool into it is Sentry, and they recently added performance metrics, and you hook Sentry into your live system so that you can see errors is like Datadog, and they also, so you can, on critical path, you can define performance measurements there. Have you experienced with that?
I've not, and it's quite interesting that that's quite interesting that Sentry have also rolled it out as well. But I suppose it was inevitable with New Relic don't have it, but Datadog do. But I guess a way round that, actually, a way round having it, it doesn't rolling out Sentry with critical path stuff is probably for scale-up enterprise applications probably a good idea to do anyway with the logging. It doesn't instill the junior or the team or the actual code quality stuff because it can't do that. But what you can do is have a flag for monitoring, and then instill that into your more junior or mid-level developers of right. When you ship this feature, when it goes to a QA, UAT environment, etc., it will have Sentry running on it and getting them into the knack of when to log stuff for critical path stuff. So I think that's actually it's a good way of doing it. The problem is that it can turn into I did this before. I worked somewhere where because we didn't have the power and we're extending off Shopify to have visibility on the code running locally. It was only on like production or die. Meant that you just you did PRs that just put logging everywhere, and then Sentry just went. Well, it wasn't Sentry. It was not PagerDuty. What's the other one? Not log. I can't even remember what it was called. Had page in it. Page logger. I can't remember the name of it. But yeah, the logs were a nightmare. So the instances for just doing the logging just started filling, and then the CTO would just be like, don't worry about those. Let's just delete all those logs. You're like, okay, but then deleting everything means that we now can't debug. So you have no visibility over your cloud stack at all. So I'd say that's like another mindset thing of how to structure when you're outputting logging and how to get things like Sentry and PagerDuty and Datadog to actually look at them.
All right, thanks. Anyone else? All right, then thank you very much for the very entertaining talk today, and thanks for coming here. I know this was a hard trip for you, kind of. Yeah, so I guess we're going to close the round here and let's have a beer.
Does anyone?
Yeah.
Has anyone had a tinker with the elephants? Yes, three. So did you sign up first for Vonage? Okay, cool. Okay, so yeah, if you tested, please don't say there's an error because then I've got to debug it. Yes, one elephant, and can I have a round of applause? Can I take a photo of you with it? And then I'm going to do we'll do the three. Yeah, sorry, I know it's like marketing shill. Very much. What have we got?
Also, no questions, but Tristan Bailey is applauding you.
Oh, thank you. Shall I bow in front of the camera? Okay. Right, have a look. There we go. Awesome. Have you got a Elon Musk horrible website account? Sorry, I'm talking in riddles. Have you got a Twitter account? Yes. Do you want to post a picture of the elephant on there? You do. Okay. In that case, I don't have to take a photo of you. Can you just post a picture of the elephant? That'd be, and you can put the Vonage account, but that'd be great. Any other takers? If two people want to sign up for a Vonage account, you can do this on your phone. Where you go to Vonage. I can't remember the name of the site. If you do it and just show me now, you can get there's two more, and these are limited. There's not many of them, and also you can sell them on eBay for lots of money. That's a true story. Vonage API. Sign up for an account. I think if you type in sign up for a Vonage account, that's all you need to do. And obviously it's free. If anyone wants to do that, because I'm not going to keep everyone waiting, because everyone wants a drink and a chat. If you come and show me, then you can get an elephant that you've signed up for an account. Thank you very much for being patient.